And I'll hit
just
record.
Done.
All right. America is recording.
And so is the United Kingdom. Hello, everyone. Welcome to live news for May.
America is recording.
Is the United Kingdom. Mute that. Don't want to hear that again. Yes, live news. Here we are, May. What have we been up to this month? I think I'll go first while I'm talking. It was, of course, Revival. And we invented a new podcast, a podcast title anyway, and we decided that this title, if you were just browsing podcasts looking for something to listen to and you saw this title, you'd listen to it. And that title is Car Park Drinking, which is what we were doing on the Friday night. All had a few drinks in the car park.
It's not a bad name, and when you think about it, like if I came across a podcast listening, it was just called Day Drinking or parking lot drinking or car. I think I might actually stop by just to see what they're doing.
So that was Revival. We met up on the Friday evening and got the booth all set up and what have you. And I have to say, it was the best expo I've ever been to. It was brilliant. It really was. It was huge. So many arcade games, so many computers, so many consoles, entertainment in both rooms. The only downside was the British IBM performing live, but, we could go to the other room while they were on. And it was just fantastic. And you missed out on a treat, Scott, because Ashley was still at the hotel.
Oh, no way. She's great. She's the best.
Yeah, she was still there, and she was wearing an engagement ring. She just got engaged, so... you
can't make every trip,
Funny thing was, she didn't remember any of us. She didn't have a clue who we were.
That's saucy tart.
Yeah.
Did. So, like, 6 guys walk in and remember her, and she doesn't remember any of us.
Yeah. We met quite a few people over the weekend in the booth, one of which was Gordon Murphy, who's doing the game Machu Picchu Mike. So he showed me what he's done so far on that, showed me some of his other games as well. So it was good to catch up with Gordon, talk a bit about the game, what he wants to do with it. Jeff Neal also showed us a game he's working on at the moment, kind of a Lords of Midnight clone. So he showed us some gameplay of that, had a little go on that, moved around a few locations, fought a few enemies. So good to catch up with Jeff, and a drunken Jeff. I've never seen him drunk before. People kept buying him drinks and he kept accepting them. So,
well, you would. I mean, he's a gentleman. He's not some rude ass that's going to go, oh, no, I won't drink that drink you're offering me.
Yeah. So tons of great cabs there. One I've never seen before, F355 Challenge 2. They had one of those. Great condition, other than the force feedback was brutal. Literally kicking the wheel out of your hands. But
which one is this?
The F355 Challenge 2.
Oh my God, there was one there?
Yeah.
Did you boost the board set for me?
Unfortunately not, no. Although they did completely strip it down to take it in and out. I could have done.
You got him.
Yeah.
Two things about that real quick. One, I am still looking for the 355 Challenge version 2 board set, or even just the ROM set with the boot ROM. I'll take anything I can get. That game, the version 2 was only released in Europe, very limited production, and the neat thing about it is it has the Fiorano test track, and I absolutely want to add that to my cabinet, But so if anyone has one laying in their closet, they want to, do a little business on, hit me up. But yeah, the force feedback on it is adjustable. But I tell you, man, you should. One day when you're over at my house again, I'll have to show you the structure behind that thing. It looks like it's out of like an 18-wheel with this huge steel steering column that, actually it holds, the cabinet together. It's a huge steel brace. And then hanging off the back, there is a motor the size of what you would find on like like a lift or a giant vacuum. I mean, it's a huge fucking motor, right? Like the size of a paint can. Mm-hmm. And it's got a big belt off of it. It has a tremendous amount of strength. So cranked all the way up, yeah, it'll absolutely slam the wheel around in your hand. But it's adjustable, people. It's adjustable.
And either side of the booth, so if you were sat in our booth, to your left there was a T2 arcade machine, and to the right was an ice cold beer. So we were sat right between those two cabs. So we had a great location and just a brilliant weekend. One thing they did, which I've never seen an expo do over here, or never been invited anyway, but they closed at like 5, all the public went away, and then they reopened at 7 for people who'd paid a tenner. I think it was invite only, pay a tenner, and you get chili or curry, and the bar stays open and all the machines are on, so you can just hang out in the arcade, which is what we did on the Saturday night, just played a ton of games. So great idea. Not seen an expo do it over here before. And what else have I been doing? Grand Prix Legends, been playing that recently. Started a new season, and I've won the first 2 races. So that's mighty fine. And that's me.
Well, I have continued my rampage through modern gaming. I beat The Last of Us, and that game's been around for a while. So I'm gonna discuss the high and the low of it real quick. If you don't want any spoilers, you can stick your fingers in your ears for a few seconds. So overall, it kind of reminded me almost like I was back in the Laserdisc era. I'm talking about The Last of Us. He would like tap a button, watch a 3-minute cutscene, tap a button, watch a 3-minute cutscene. At one point, I was actually like holding the controller in my hands going, triangle, 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 star. And then finally, you climb over a fence, and then there's like a 3-minute cutscene of you walk through a university. Oh, you come up to a gate. All right, hold down triangle until the gate opens. All right, now watch the 3-minute cutscene. And there were parts of it where there was quite a bit of gameplay, but there were parts of it where there was not a lot of gameplay. The ending, though, and have either of you two played The Last of Us?
I've watched a walkthrough video, so I know what happens.
Oh yeah, I beat it on PS3, I think.
All right, so the ending of this thing, you're basically in the hospital, and you fought your way through all the layers of guards, and every corner you expect to come around and find 2 or 3 more guys lying in wait. So you come through this one door, and it's just this unguarded operating room, and you see the shadows of a doctor and some nurses moving around. And the whole idea is they're going to cut the fungus out of this girl's brain that you've been hauling around, so they can solve the zombie apocalypse problem, right? So you go into the the operating theater, and they start screaming, right? So they got the girl on the table, and the nurses and the doctor start screaming. I'm looking around like, the fuck? Everybody dies. Okay, so I like shot the first nurse, and the other one goes, "Oh my god, he's a monster." I'm like, "Oh, you'll be last. You got to watch others die." So I shot the doctor and shot her. I even tried to shoot the kid on the table because at this point I'm fairly annoyed. But so you pick her up. You basically run left, right, 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 left, right, left, right, all these different patterns until you finally exit. And in the basement, you run into the sort of head of the opposition team that was gonna cut up the girl. And she's giving you this long, boring speech. I'm sitting there hitting like the square, but like, shoot the bitch, shoot. Nothing happens, right? So finally, the cutscene, in the middle of the cutscene, he takes his gun and shoots her for you. It's like, oh, come on. And but I knew like the end was near, so I stuck with it. And then you just end up driving until you run out of gas. You walk up this hill, and the girl says, "Was everything you told me about the Fireflies true?" Because the guy just told her that there was no cure, And he looks at her and goes, "Yes." She goes, "Okay." And the game ends. I was like, fuck. It was okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, the game was okay. But though there was a lot of kind of Laserdisc, it would have been a better movie. I'll put it that way. But wrap that up, jumped on to Mass Effect Andromeda, and I'm probably about maybe a quarter of the way through that. I played Mass Effect 3. I really liked it, and this is, kind of new branch of it. You know, it's a totally separate location, totally separate, you know, storyline, actors, aliens, characters, whatever. So I'm having a good time with it. So all in all, yeah, the Mass Effect Andromeda is a pretty good game.
Oh, and have a look on camera, Scott. Are you looking at my camera?
I can be, just a moment.
Got a little show and tell for you.
Where'd it go? Hold on. Refreshing. It's just gone a little static. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just ordered mine from Butler, so I'm waiting to hear what he needs me to PayPal him.
This is yours. I got it off him at Revival.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Then I'll I got a box shit for you too, so we'll sort it out. No big deal.
Yeah. So just
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Send him 15 quids.
All right.
Sparkle, what about you? What have all you been up to?
Yeah, been real busy. Have sort of a disaster with a freelance project that I've been working on for 18 months. I'm either going to get paid a significant amount of money, or I will get screwed and get nothing. So I've seen how this movie ends before. So hopefully this time it's different, and I am able to get paid. Beyond that, I've been... Yeah, man. Maybe I'll talk about this one day, but
I'm a serial entrepreneur. I just spun up another business, kind of an agricultural thing, and I got this guy worked before on it, and he I know he hasn't really done much. Just a couple of like emails, and he wasn't really a player.
No. It's definitely agricultural business, and I'll talk about it sometime in the future. Pretty interesting stuff, but beyond that, been fixing up this house, horror house to sell. After the people that were in it left, it looked like some shit out of a Saw movie. I was scrubbing blood, scrubbing blood and pubic hairs. Yeah, blood and pubic hairs off of a fucking ceiling. I never thought that I'd have to do that. I mean, just like rusted shit and debris everywhere, and like dead rabbits and shit, and it was just fucked up, man. So I pretty much had to do a total gut job on this house and take some of the bathrooms down to the studs. I'm actually closing on it here in 45 minutes, so I'm going to leave the show early and then come back a little bit later, catch you on the backside. But as far as gaming, yeah, I'm finishing up grad school. I will be done on June 30th and have my life back again. I was just telling UK before we started, I really want to get over to the UK and check out the Imperial War Museum, if that's what it's called. Something called something like that, right? The one with the big guns out front. Yeah. Looks badass.
Imperial
Want to get
War
out
Museum.
there. And I've been playing some limited gaming where I can fit it in. I rented God of War because I didn't think I'd really have time to play it. Checked it out. I played all the God of War games. I usually played them on God mode, and I beat all of them. This one, I wasn't able to play on God mode. I played maybe the first 2 hours God mode, and then it's brutal. It's more like, for those of you that play modern games, like what's the one that's real? Dead Soul or Dark Souls, or Demon Souls, one of those type games where it's like real slow, methodical fighting. You have to kind of plan what you're doing. There's no like real jump button. You just kind of jump when you come up to a chasm. So before I used to play God of War, I'd be jumping all over the place, mashing buttons, spinning shit around and killing enemies. This shit, you have to like kind of slowly wait for an opening. You got to do dodging and blocking and stuff. So it's much more methodical. It's a great game. Looks gorgeous. Probably will end up picking that up when it goes on sale and I have a little bit more time after grad school in a month or so. Also still playing Friday the 13th. Level 112. Hoping to get to 113 so I can switch my weapons on Jason soon. They're going to be adding the Grendel from Jason X, which is the spaceship, and Space Jason. It's a fantastically horrible fucking movie. I recommend anybody watch it at some point, and if you like bad horror. And let's see, I also just got the Sega Classics edition for PS4. Was playing some of that last night with my little one, playing a little Gunstar Heroes and Golden Axe 2. And I'm going to try to do like a little quick review, so maybe I'll get that on this month's show. Yeah, there you go. How about that? Pretty fucking rad.
Pretty fucking rad indeed.
Yeah.
So, we can get to some news in then. And I sent one in here, and it is from the site Digitizer. And it's 10 Sega arcade machines you won't have heard of. I did look at this, and I can't remember if I'd heard of any of them. The first one is Periscope. Kind of looks like you're looking into a fish tank through a drain pipe, really. Then there's Flash Beats from 2000. Astro Data. Titanic. No, not heard of that. That's looks a bit like a roulette machine, that, with a big glass dome in the middle. Wackadoodle. Hell Shooter. Cut the Cheese. That kind of looks a bit like Rock and Ball. The bit more complicated playfield. Love Tester. I've heard of Love Tester. I don't know if I've seen the Sega one. And Plinker's Canyon, which is kind of the shooting gallery. And then Bullseye, which is huge. A great big long shooting gallery. Because it used real plastic projectiles to shoot at paper targets. Wow. Punching Bag. Well, we've seen those before, but didn't know Sega did one. And then I followed it up with another article from the same place, Digitizer. And this is 11 Nintendo arcade games you've never even heard of. Another shooting one there, and a clay shooting one from 73. EVR Race, Skyhawk, Computer Othello, little cocktail cab. Space Fever, which is a Space Invaders clone. Monkey Magic. Space Launcher. Cab looks pretty cool. It looks very much like a Space Invaders cab. Pretty much the exact same shape. Head on N. Space Firebird. And Sheriff. Now, there was actually a Sheriff at Revival. Some guy had built one. It was a great looking cab as well. It was in. They had a section of cabs, the Nintendo cabs, and that was there. And Radar Scope, which looks a bit like Beam Rider. So he's almost right. I've never heard of most of them.
So, man, pardon me.
Oh, someone's got a traffic report.
I was concerned about getting there on time. So, there was two things I actually wanted to kind of bring up at the beginning, and I didn't get them in there quick enough. There were two topics that I discussed in a little more detail, quite a bit of detail, in the hardware flashback. But I wanted to do just a quick roundtable with you guys on, I think, two of the biggest topics right now in our world. And, the first is the passing of Ted Dabney, So, I had sort of my own thoughts on it, and pretty much it's just that, I thought Nolan did the right thing with some of his remarks, after Ted passed, and that the gaming world just hasn't given it enough attention. There's, precious few articles out there that really touch on the importance of what he brought, to this hobby that we love. So, well, I'm curious, what do you guys, what are your thoughts on this?
What did Nolan say?
Oh, he put out a very nice statement. He said, that Ted was a co-founder, a partner, and a friend, and a great creator, something to that effect. He didn't, obfuscate. He didn't, that's exactly what he said. He just said, those things that I think a lot of people wanted to hear Nolan say, for a long time. And he said it with, I think a great deal of class.
It's too bad. It's sort of me. It's a classy statement, but it's a little too late. I just think with some of the Me Too stuff that came out with Nolan, it would have been nice if he would have acknowledged him a couple years ago, where Nolan's name was maybe a little bit better before it was sort of besmirched with some of the allegations of debauchery and things like that kind of happened during that time. He was really important. I think that usually the people are viewed more important posthumously versus when they're alive, and certainly I think people will look back and see Ted's accomplishments, and he'll be recognized in museums and things like that moving forward.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I don't know if I've been pretty much offline for the last few days, so I've not really been reading up on it. Haven't seen Nolan's statement, so I've not really seen what coverage it's got, but you would think maybe it would have attracted more than it has with, other Atari news recently. But although it's not the same Atari, you would have thought that would put it on people's radar, but maybe not. I mean, is Housefire made some press, but again, not a great deal. So
yeah, I mean, especially within the mainstream media, they're just, I did not sit there listening to the radio and hear the co-founder of the first video game company, commercial video game ever, has passed away today. Nothing, And that I thought was disappointing, but, that's what we're here for. We recognize those heroes,
Yeah, I think if I'm trying to think of a comparison, maybe Sir Clive Sinclair, founder of Sinclair. But then he's a knight, he's a sir. So, I mean, if he passed away, it'd be all over the place, there'd be stock footage of calculators, of Sinclair C5s, of Spectrums, and all sorts. But like I say, he is knighted, so can't think of anyone else who would, make the press over here for something similar.
But what did happen, though, is I was sitting there last night, and this is topic number 2. And I had spoken with one of the principals of this project some weeks ago, and they sort of laid out what was coming and said, but, that's absolutely cannot go anywhere. You can tell nobody. And I said, I will honor that, and I'll look for the public announcement, right? And so about midday or so, or somewhere early in the morning, Paul Nermix texted me and said, "Hey, check it out! Big news from the television coming today." I was like, "Yeah, I know what it is, but I couldn't say. I'm waiting to see it come out in public." And he's like, "Oh, okay, gotcha." And so what came out was that Intellivision is launching a console. And what was kind of funny is last night, it was fairly late. It was around midnight. And I just, sitting in the garage, playing some Mass Effect, got the radio on, listening to John Batchelor. And, it goes to the news break, today in Syria, some other fuckheads did this, that, and the other, And it comes up all of a sudden, plastic video game manufacturer Intellivision is returning to the market with a new console. I'm like, oh shit, holy fuck, right? I couldn't reach my phone to record it in time, but I texted Emily right away. I was like, Emily, guess what? I'm sitting here listening to radio. They just did the thing. And this is like WMAL, the biggest station in other than maybe New York, one of the biggest stations on the East Coast. And it covers like all of Washington, D.C., the Northern Virginia Metroplex and into Maryland, just huge coverage. Very listened to radio station. And so I told her, I said, hey, word's getting out there, So the word is a couple things were put in motion, and I went into all the detail in the horror flashback, so I'll just recap here real quick. So Tommy Tallarico bought a portion. Steve Romey, Bill Fisher stepped up. So you got Steve Romey, Bill Fisher, Tommy Tallarico. Of course, Emily is still involved. She's doing all the licensing stuff. And Paul Nermix Paul Nermix is in doing some product development. So it looks like they've got a solid team of people who have successfully achieved in bringing things to market, and ventures like, of course, Video Games Live. And it was kind of a hard thing saying, okay, a team of people are developing a new classic console based on with the Chameleon for Coleco, and then the Atari box with Atari. It's like, oh boy, this is just a real difficult, row to hoe here with all the shenanigans. But I like the people they got. I'm behind them 100%. It's just I hope none of the splatter from the other ventures, ends up on them, because it is kind of a sensitive topic right now. What do you guys think?
I'll go because I got to bounce here in a second. I read the statement Tommy put out. Great guy. I mean, these guys are all involved for the right reasons, and I think that's part of what you need for a winning, successful formula. Kind of do it for the right reasons. The money will kind of come later. I mean, I would imagine that Tommy's done pretty well for himself, so he'll be able to get the funding as necessary for this, get this thing going as it should. He's not going to probably have to rely on crowdfunding or anything like that, unless he wants to. It's sort of a marketing reason, but I read that it's not going to have Netflix or anything like that. Okay, if it comes out and it's sort of like a Super NES Classic Edition or one of these, re-release consoles, I'd be okay with it. But honestly, anything over the $100 price point, I really feel like they could put a cheap chip in there and have it dual as, some kind of Netflix box or something like that. I mean, like I said about the Atari one, that when and if that ever comes out, I'd happily replace my Roku or my Amazon Fire or my Apple TV with something that also played some games, as long as I didn't lose some of the functionality of the Roku box, being able to order movies or watch Amazon Prime or Netflix or YouTube or something like that on it. So it's too early to really say, but the right people are in place. So very confident and optimistic about what the future holds for Intellivision.
Yeah, it's not something I'd be in the market for, but I've not bought any of the other mini systems. I've got the Flashback, of course. More of that later. But I wouldn't be in the market for it. But I'm not that person. So, I mean, it's good that they've got people that do care about it. I mean, the Atari box is not going to be anything to do with Atari. Nobody from Atari is there, whereas this is the people that have been within television all along pretty much, and some others who really care about the brand and the product and have some investment in it. So I think it's good on all counts, but it's just not something that I would go out and buy.
All right, I just wanted to hit those two topics and see what the roundtable said. So proceed.
And apparently they still have a few remaining units from CG 2014 of the signed edition. I believe Keith signed all of those. So
all the Blue Sky Rangers that were there signed it.
Yeah, so if you guys are looking for a cool conversation piece for your collection, I'd encourage you to go out there and gobble up one of those last few remaining units before they're gone forever.
Forever. Okay.
I know I've got my two.
Yeah, I've got one as well.
What did you get? You got like number 69 or something?
I did, and that was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Can't remember what mine is. I think it's like 65.
I've got like number 6 and number 69, something like that.
Okay, one here from Dave Lanke, and it is someone who's recreated a 1980s Game & Watch classic using Nintendo Labo. And links, of course, will be in the show notes. You can subscribe to an RSS feed of all the news items we do. And I'll try and remember to post it in chat as well. And it is indeed using a Switch controller and some cardboard. He's made a very primitive, very impractical, but functional Game & Watch game. So he's got sections cut out of the cardboard with, which would represent each of the positions on the LED that you can see if, you look at the screen. And there's something white underneath it. I don't know if it's paper that pops up or something else that moves underneath, but something white appears behind each one to light it up. And you can play a game on it. If you really want to.
It's kind of cool, but that Labdo thing, still just the idea of people paying $80 for cardboard is something I can't get behind. So I got one here from Mr. Michael James, and it's got the 50 best-selling video games of all time. But when you click on it, the link must have changed. It goes to these are the most popular video games of all time with 29 games.
So it does.
But then there are 50 games listed, so who the hell knows? The Duck Hunt, Gran Turismo, The Sims. Let's get down into like the top 10 because this is a bit much.
Yeah, you got Super Mario Brothers 3, some Pokemons.
Top 10, according to this. The new Super Mario Brothers. That's surprising. I like it, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty Black Ops, Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, Wii Sports, Mario Kart for the Wii, Tetris on the Game Boy, Super Mario Brothers is number 3, number 2 is Grand Theft Auto 5, and number 1 is Wii Sports. Well, as a pack-in, okay, yeah. But I don't know. I noticed that there's not, as I scroll through this, other than Super Mario Brothers, it's kind of all mostly newer stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there may have been a bias in that. I don't know.
One sent in by me, and it's Chris Wilkins' Kickstarter, which you're too late to back. It has finished, but it absolutely smashed its target. And I should have mentioned at the top as well, at Revival, I did a couple of the panels on the Sunday. I did one on Commodore with David Pleasance, who was the UK MD of Commodore. Simon was on that one. Archer McLean was on it, and who else was on there? A couple of other programmers. Was it Nick? Anthony Hall, I think it was, who was on there as well. And we talked for an hour about Commodore. And then the second one I did was about Newsfield. So we covered Crash Magazine, Zap Magazine. And Chris has done a Kickstarter for a new Zap 64 annual, which is expected to be delivered around September time. It finished, I think, 2 or 3 days ago, and the target was £20,000, and it got to 60, so he trebled his target. It's going to be 120 page, I think it is now, with some of the stretch goals. I think it's going to be 120 page, full hardback cover, full colour annual. So, and Ollie Frey is doing the cover, of course. So there will be more available if you didn't get in on the Kickstarter. You'll just have to buy them later, but still, hopefully in time for Christmas.
All righty. Pardon me. Got one here from Alan Hegedus, and he says here, looks like the Atari VCS goes live May 30th. Let's see here.
And it does. That's today.
I think it's... Well, I'm curious...
This was submitted by
to make it even better.
This was submitted by a few people. Random Dave sent it in there. I'm just scrolling up the list to see who else sent it in. I know a few did. Can't see it. They've been too obscure.
So I just clicked on the link, and it says Indiegogo experiencing load issues. Keep trying. I'm not going to click on it just yet, but remember a similar statement, like, yeah, the interest was so huge we had to stop to digest it. Let's see here. Except it was us taking an interest in it.
I've clicked on it. Let's see what I get.
You can click to pre-order on Indiegogo. The page loaded in a snappy fashion, I'll say that.
But still, like random Dave said in WhatsApp, there's still no specs or hardware info or anything on it yet. So you're buying a dream, folks.
But hey, here's the thing. Oh, Michael. Okay, breaking news here on Retro Gaming Roundup. We need one of those D. Well, you can do that, right? All right, ready, set, go. Breaking news here on Retro Gaming Roundup.
I wasn't ready. I don't think I've got that, actually. Let's see what I've got.
Well, I thought you were just going to do it live. Oh. All right, take 3. Breaking news here on Retro Gaming Roundup.
Seamless.
Okay, so they're on Indiegogo. I guess they've been courted for oh god. So they're on Indiegogo. And they're already 1,707% funded. So how do you get 1,707% funded on the first day? Well, it's because they got 6,446 backers, totaling $1.7 million. And their goal was only $100,000. Now, $100,000, really? I mean, let's say they gotten $108,000 and it funded. What are you going to do with $108,000? Because we all know molds cost $250,000, right? So clearly they had the molds made, right? So you're telling me that the 3 molds for the controllers and the console, board development using AMD modern circuitry, modern development and all that, you're gonna be able to make some of these for $101,000. Not in a million years, no. So what if it had funded and only funded $101,000? Holy crap! They set that goal so low that what they wanted and what they got here is that somebody clicks on it and sees it's already funded and isn't afraid to back it. Now, 1.7 mil, I'll say that would cover the development costs and be able to ship units. So I'll give them credit for that they have enough money to develop and ship units. Curious where it goes.
Yeah, why is my Sparkle's trying to ring me? I don't know why. Did he get cut off? Let's try and bring him back. Oh.
Yeah.
Welcome to FM Radio podcast, folks.
We got Mark on the line. Caller, what do you got to say?
Drinking and driving is so much fun.
So we just visited the. Were you listening, Sparklepus, in your car?
No, I just joined back.
So we just went over the Atari VCS launch. It's now available for purchase. And I hate to repeat everything I just said, but you need to hear these things because they're going to sound quite familiar. So it opened up. They got 1,700% funded on the first day because they set the threshold for $100,000. So, meaning that
seems like an impossible achievement.
Yes. It would have never, in the case I made to Mike here, I said, let's say that they got $101,000. So 3 molds, production, design, the minimum orders that like a company like AMD would require, it never would have happened at $101,000, But so now they're at 1.7 mil, which is sufficient money, if properly spent, to design, develop, and ship product.
Well, you know, back when I did the retro Kickstarter in 2013, Kickstarter was a lot different. Back then, crowdfunding was sort of the beginning of a product's life journey, and today it's really the end, right? I mean, it's
a pre-order.
You've flushed everything out, you've developed it, you've built an audience, and now you're gonna get the money so you can finally create it. It's really changed quite a bit. So hopefully these guys have a plan in place. I mean, certainly you would think $1 million would be enough to get something done, but I mean, you know, we've seen a string of crowdfunded projects recently that have gone belly up, where they got pretty significant funding and have been delayed over the course of several years. I backed Bloodstain, which is from the creator of Castlevania. That's been delayed, but they just released a small Steam version of the game. I'll be getting Bloodstain Ritual of the Night or something on. I got the Steam key. I haven't played it yet. It's a little game out there, old school a la Castlevania, just to kind of tide people over until the main game's finished. All reports are it's pretty fantastic, so that's nice. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They got $1 million, so now you just gotta hope that they deliver on the promise of whatever it is that they plan to deliver. So certainly $1 million, you can work a lot more with that than 100,000, which, you know, isn't going to get you much.
Well, it wouldn't have paid for the things they're proposing that they have, you know, and ship minimum number of units for production. So they've got the money. First day one, they've got sufficient money to build this thing.
Well, you'd like to think that Atari as a corporation, you know, whoever owns it now, has something. They have some kind of private venture capital or whatever it is. Like they certainly should have some money in the bank to work with beyond just the money that they've got from crowdfunding.
If they're willing to risk it.
Well, I mean, I don't know what else you really have other than a back catalog of games, and you know what I mean? Like, this is what they've kind of hitched their wagon to, so to speak. So I think they got to kind of knock it out of the park.
Yeah, or else. But the two things that I maintain they're going to need to be everything that Xbox One or PlayStation 4 is, and they're going to need to have an ecosystem that makes people like me and you and Mike, you know, and listeners are, you know, that are our age say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to have that," because it's like, what if Atari never went away? So we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, look, the Nintendo Switch is doing quite well, and you know, they're not really competing in the same place. So there's definitely a need in the marketplace for niche products that don't necessarily compete with Xbox and PlayStation, but it's carving out that need. So,
but if you want to go price point toe to toe and have shelf space in retail stores and be a presence out there, all the people that, you know, there are potential customers, you know, like I said, the hipsters, you know, I don't want an Xbox. I don't want a PlayStation. I'm buying the Atari because it's different. But it better have Netflix. It better play 3D polygon games. It better, you know, they're going to want it to do everything. They're just going to want the name to be different, you know.
I mean, it's going to be challenging. I think if we went around and, you know, I'll ask you guys, do you think if Sega came out with a new console right now that it would be successful? Do you think they could successfully launch a new console?
Yeah.
Depends on the games, but yeah.
So, you know, Atari certainly has an uphill battle because Sega has a much more recognizable name at this point than Atari does. So, you know.
Well, and there's always been a desire for the return of Sega hardware. That's absolutely true. So, we'll see. I'm going to be watching this one with a lot of interest.
one here from me, and it is, winners don't use drugs. Well, they do in our top 10 this month, but...
well, some of them do.
It's an article about how the FBI made the winners don't use drugs, the arcade motto of the 90s. So you've seen this if you're booting up an arcade machine, or you'll see it in MAME as well if you launch some games. You'll see that screen with the pale blue background and the shield, and then in yellow letters, winners don't use drugs. And it's a fairly decent lengthy article about... how the FBI came up with that campaign and got it into games. So, well worth the read.
All right, the car thing doesn't work.
Yeah, it does.
It does when it's not that loud. There's one here that I sent in, although credit should go to Willie Culver. And this is, you know, the mini arcade machines that you can get from Target, where they've got 2 games on the board, and if you
I picked them all up.
Yeah, if you short out, you know, a couple of solder pads, you'll get the other game. Well, what Willie did was installed a Mercury switch in one of his, so that if you turn on the game upright, you get one game. If you turn it upside down and turn the game on, the Mercury switch activates and shorts the pads and gives you the second game, so you don't need to open it up. It's brilliant. Only Willie.
Yeah, got one here. Well, I funny enough, I got the baggie right here, the remainders. I just used a momentary press switch to hold down while you're booting, so works pretty good. Got one here from George Lutz, and it's entitled Shit Happens. In Brooklyn, it's not uncommon to see a human turd on the sidewalk these days. I almost stepped in a turd walking out of the arcade last week. I felt this is an interesting story. The serial shitter could be a guy you least expect. Random Dave sounds like he shit on a sidewalk before. Enjoy. And it says... a serial pooper was installed, was targeted at a New Jersey high school track. Yeah, I read this. The guy, I think he was the, superintendent was out on the sports track running around, and he kept just dropping a deuce and got caught.
You know, my sister lives out in Silicon Valley. And they have like an app out there apparently where you can use to avoid human shit on the sidewalks.
Yeah,
as long as it's up to date. Oh, better log that one.
Log that one.
Well, there was one here I spotted. I was scrolling through then looking for another one. But on the same vein as the 2 I started with, the Nintendo and Sega games that you've never heard of, here's 10 obscure Atari machines that you never even knew about. So let's have a look at these. Very fitting for this month. The Atari Jaguar Vr. And I have never seen one of those before. Full, VR headset. And a bit that plugs into the console. The Atari Cosmos I have heard of. Haven't they got one in the video game history museum? I'm sure they've got one. The Atari Panther, which I have also heard of. The Vidcom one I haven't. That's just a weird thing with lots of buttons on it. Bionics. No. The Game Brain. Not heard of that one. It looks to be an early Pong style thing. Stunt Cycle. I have seen this before. It's literally like imagine something about the size and shape of a 2600, but then it's got motorcycle handbars on top of it, and you plug it into the TV. Play Stunt Cycle on your TV, which is a good game. Don't know how well that version plays. Video music. No, did not know about that. Video Pinball. The home version. Didn't know there was a home version of that. The Spectre. Wow, what's that? a holographic console unveiled by Atari in 1981. The Spectre played games on a holoptic cylinder, which dropped into the top of the machine and spun round to offer 3D-ish visuals via 3 windows. Wow. Did not know about that one. And I shall post it in chat for you. There you are. One sent by Retro Sean, and I thought a couple of others as well. That's what I was scrolling through for. I couldn't find it to mention the others. But it is a massive collection of classic games and hardware going up for auction. It says here, this is an article on PCGamesN.com. Bill the Judas, a name we know there, is a New Jersey-based expert on classic games, and over the last several decades he's assembled a truly enormous collection of original video games and gaming systems. That I did know, because I'm sure I've seen video of his collection. He has this basement that's all done out with shelving, everything's neatly in boxes. It's a great collection he's got. The Judas is holding the auction through Bodnar's auction, and the collection will go up for bidding on May 31st. Well, you're going to miss it in the podcast, but if you're in live news, that's tomorrow. There are photos online, and there are countless full systems, including flashbacks, the Television 3s, early Apple home systems, and Radio Shack home computers.
Yeah, I'm just going to comment real quick that, Bill, you should have cleaned your place up a little bit before the auction, buddy. I mean, you got some great stuff, but man, it looks like one pile away from an episode of Hoarders, you know? I mean, it's really that bad. It's like, the little trail through the basement to like the Nintendo stuff, like jump over a couch to get to the Neo Geo. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy town. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I get it, but man.
All right, Max. Sorry, I had to step out for a sec. Let's see.
All right. Well, you're just in time to talk about the CG Adventures board game then. Check out the link there. You'll see a load of pictures of it. And offline sometime, we need to figure out what we're going to do, whether we do a Facebook poll or we do something else. But we need to figure all that out and see what the demand is and how we do it.
All right, let's see here. It's loading. All righty, there's some characters and such. Oh, yeah, look at that. The CD stack.
Yeah. There's one image not loading there. Let's have a look at that. I'll fix this.
Brilliant.
Let's paste the link in chat first, and then I will fix the link. Pick a story,
All right,
Scott, while I fix stuff.
Go ahead.
So pick a story while I fix stuff.
Okay, got one here from Dave Bulwer. Dave, thanks for sending in this bit here. It says, Raspberry Pi acts as Cycle Perfect 1541 drive, which of course is the floppy disk drive, external floppy disk drive for the Commodore 64. Looks like there's no end to what people can do with Raspberry Pi. Pi 1541 is a Cycle Perfect 1541 emulator using the Pi 3. I have no doubt. Let's see here. Yeah, interesting. Today, in today's dollars, the 1541 would be $1,000 purchase. That sounds about right. Let's see here. Yeah, they point out that the SD to IC is compatible with many things, but not everything. And that this is Cycle Perfect, so it's compatible with everything. So, yep. I am not surprised at all.
Yep.
All right, let's see here. What we got next? Oh, a bad or malformed request. So rude.
Oh no.
All right, got one here from Mike James, the Highway Pinball Liquidation. So somebody's going to be liquidating some pinballs. Let's see here.
Yeah, this was... so the company Highway Pinball have liquidated, as Scott said, and they were unfortunately in a situation, and there was lots of who did what to whom stories out there on the internet, and people tarnishing others' reputations and stuff, but basically people have pledged money for pre-orders and not received games, and they're now very unlikely to, because I think the people who kind of took over have, are just going to shut it down. Apparently, he sold it to someone who said, yeah, we'll do something with it and honor pre-orders, and that's not happened. So he did do a big explanation. I don't know if the link you're on is the explanation he did or not.
Shit,
but,
it's one hell of an explanation.
Yeah, so he wouldn't do a live interview in case he said something that, because there's legal cases going on, he said he didn't want to get himself in trouble that way. But they did submit written questions to him, and he answered them. He did dodge a couple where he said, I've been advised not to talk about that for legal reasons while there is a case pending or whatever. So, but it is a fairly long read and an interesting read nonetheless.
Having been through something like this, I always read these claims and explanations with a very critical eye. I don't know this guy. I've never met him. I'm not necessarily even talking with him about this personally. But they're always like, if you remember some of the walls of text that, Kennedy put up, right? Mm-hmm. So here it says they're asking him about what happened with Highway Pinball and that the game threatened others and that the chain of events began at a pinball expo, right? And he goes, 1, company tools and electronics were stolen from Highway Pinball's stand in the main exhibition hall. 2, on announcing the start of full production at Expo, a fraud campaign was launched against Highway Pinball customers. This was a planned and targeted campaign. Blah, 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 blah. The UK police, the Serious Fraud Office, and individual banks in questions were involved. This kind of reminds me of the whole thing, like when he stole Tom Sawyer's mag, and it was, he made unreasonable threats, and the police were called to my house. Yeah, he stole the guy's product. I mean, it was anybody, all these, pontifications. So I'm curious where this one goes as well, because I used to kind of want to believe people when they had, that many, bullet points that sounded plausible. Now I'm more suspicious than ever.
Yeah. We shall see. Or maybe not. But keeping on the pinball theme, the Pinball Arcade, the video game one you can play. It's on the PlayStations, it's on Android, iOS. The Pinball Arcade, where they emulate real tables, they've lost the rights to Bally and Williams tables. So there will be no more of them. If you've already bought them, you can still download them and play them. You'll still be able to play the ones you've bought after the deadline, but you will no longer be able to purchase them or new ones. And the deadline for it is June 30th. So if you've got Pinball Arcade on any platform, go in there and download all the tables that you've bought. Otherwise, you will lose the Bally and Williams ones.
Two of the biggest players in all of pinball, historically. Mm-hmm. Not today, but historically. But, it's free money for the company. They the work was done on those tables. They were designed. They were sold. That revenue stream is gone forever. And, here they come with the, Bally, Williams pinball collections, and people can play virtual versions of the tables, and there it is, right? And the company's like, no, we want to screw this up. We were getting money that didn't even exist until this, but we don't want that anymore. Yeah.
I played a ton of pinball at Revival. They had about 10 or 12 machines there. Played a lot of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I love that game. They had a great playing, great playing AC/DC. Played a load of that. Doctor Who, played a lot of that. Family Guy. Even played a bit of South Park. I'm not a South Park fan at all, but the game does play pretty well. And they had a few more modern ones down the end, trying to see what they are. I've got a picture of them here. I think one was Tron. I think there was a Game of Thrones. Neither of those I like. And the new Batman as well. Don't really like the shots on those games, so I just spent most of my time on AC/DC and Creature. Oh, they also had a Back to the Future as well, which I played quite a bit.
You know, we stopped at this one bar a few weeks ago. I went in, and there's AC/DC. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I, pull out, it's like $1.50 or so. So I, put in the money and hit start, and no sound. So I, hit the shooter, and it's deadly silent, right? And, so I play through the game, and without sound, there is no point to AC/DC. No. So I asked the bartender, I was like, hey, your sound's out on your AC/DC. Have you talked to your operator now? And he's like, oh, yeah. We had him turn it down so it doesn't disturb people. I'm like, it's a music-themed pin of which music and the quality of the sound system is the entire point.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Got one here from Dave Lanky, and he says, I can't decide if I want this or not. I guess I'll have to wait and hear more on pricing, games included, and maybe hackability to make a final decision. So SNK is releasing a Neo Geo Mini. So, interesting. If you haven't looked at this yet, listeners, pause the show and bring it up and take a look at this thing. I don't know what to make of this. It looks like a cash register mated with a TV. It doesn't look like...
It is. It's one of those toy cash registers.
It looks like something you'd use to scoop, ice cream. It makes no sense. UK, do you see any sense in this?
No, I mean it looks hideous. I don't like the look of it at all. But obviously they're just jumping on the bandwagon, and we'll shift a few. And it's probably a cheaper way of playing a lot of the games than the normal routes. But no, for me, no. I generally don't play many Neo Geo games anyway, to be honest. A lot of them are fighters anyway, which I don't like. So, no, not for me. Not for me. It's hideous.
So it's going to be about 5.5 inches by 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. So that's not that big. It does have HDMI out. So you remember I've got one right here, the Neo Geo handheld that snapped into the base that, would hold it and let it act as a tabletop.
The goal. Is it the X? Neo Geo X, was it?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool. I like that as an idea. Of course, they screwed up the licensing big time. Ended up revoking, game packs for it and never released anything new. It was just a disaster. And they wouldn't do that twice in a row, would they? No, probably not. But, yeah, this little mini cash register, I don't think is going to sell that well.
No.
I've got a Neo Geo. I like it. I mean, it's a cool, it's sort of a newer thing for me to have in the collection. But I like it.
What's this one? I clicked on the subject. It says, Ass finally inducted into Video Game Hall of Fame, and it's from Karl Klitschke.
I just pulled up the same thing. I'm curious.
I'm going to make it into a link. Hey guys, this seems right in line with the humour on the show, and I mean that as a compliment. From The Onion, title says it all. Ass inducted into Video Game Hall of Fame alongside Fuck and Triple X. Best regards,
okay,
Karl Klitschke.
See, I thought they were going with just, nothing but ass shots of gaming characters, And it's actually just I thought Pooh would have been number 2.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's good. He's got scores on a lot of my games. Ass and Pooh have been here.
Tit got quite a few high scores at Revival. I think Cubert set the high score on the Sunday. It was in the morning, so it probably got beat. But
got one here from Retro Sean, and he says, a functional pinball machine made from Lego bricks. And it don't look too bad. It's kind of like a Star Wars theme, right? You have like sort of a Death Star, but then you have kind of like a shuttle going around the sun. It is pretty neat. It's got a nice little play field there. The flippers and all that are functional. I mean, it's neat.
It's got some spinning toys and stuff on there.
Benny's Spaceship Adventure. Oh, I like the little ball habit trails and the way they did the solenoids using the Legno Technic stuff. Oh, he's even got functional drop, or she has got functional drop targets that reset themselves. That is clever.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing is nice. Wow. You know what? Well done, madam. Well done.
Yeah, definitely saw that one as it came in. Another one from Retro Sean, the definitive ranking of Donkey Kong games. So let's have a quick rundown then. In 23 is Donkey Kong Jr. Math. 22, not heard of that one. Donkey, unless it's yeah, it must be the Japanese title at the bottom. Donkey Kong 3 anyway. Let's scroll down a bit. Donkey Kong Circus. I've not played that. It's a Game & Watch. Barrel Blast on the Wii. I've not played that either. Let's get into the top 10. So in 10 is Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. In 9, DK Jungle Climber on the DS. In 8, Donkey Kong Country 3 on the SNES. 7, Diddy Kong Racing on the N64. 6, Donkey Kong Country 2 on the SNES. 5, Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii. 4, Donkey Kong from 81. Into the top 3, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U. Number 2, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat on the GameCube. And number 1, Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. I'm not sure what that Wii U game's doing in there. In the top 3, but still. A list to inspire discussion.
Got one here submitted by Mr. Mike James himself. 10 obscure Atari machines that you never knew about.
Which I did
we know about all.
a few minutes ago. So we know about them now.
Oh, you hit that one. Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that one when I stepped out.
I jumped forward to that one.
Pardon me.
And I finally found the one from Peter Gibbs, which was another one about Bill the Judas's game collection. I knew someone else had sent it. So Sean sent us another about yet another new console. How many consoles can we have? This new console is positively retro-vector-tastic. I want one, says Sean. And I shall paste the link in chat in a second. The article's on Gamer Sutra. And it's a vector console. So let's have a look. It's called the Ocelot. It's a homebrew console that outputs to an oscilloscope. We all have one of those in the lounge, don't we? If you're a sucker for outlandish, quirky, or otherwise out there video game hardware, you'll want to feast your eyes on the Ocelot arcade system. Designed and built from the ground up by Matthew Carr, the Ocelot is a unique vector-based homebrew console that outputs to an oscilloscope, resulting in some rather funky pseudo-retro visuals. Now, if there was some way you could get that to a screen that people might have, then...
Well, you know, the good news is, okay, it was funny when you said, yeah, because who's got an oscilloscope sitting around? I just, like, slowly raised my hand over here. The neat thing is, I mean, yeah, the old, you know, CRT-type oscilloscopes have gone by the wayside. Nowadays, for just a couple of bucks, you can buy, you know, LCD screen oscilloscopes, you know, color, that work beautifully. You know, have a touchscreen interface, and I've got a couple that it's like I bought one, and then next year an even better one comes out, and one of them's like half the size of a pack of cigarettes, and it's a full function oscilloscope. So it would actually be quite practical. Like, let's say the guy sold this thing as a kit, right? And you could buy the PCB and all. Just turn around and buy one of those LCD oscilloscopes, and you got your system. I think it looks pretty darn good here, and it wouldn't be pseudo. It would be the real thing. It is putting out vector graphics, so it does what it says on the tin.
Mm-hmm. One here again from Sean Stevenson. Toys R Us, important update. And this one is Toys R Us, gone out of business, of course, but they're trying to raise a few more quid by selling off some of the URLs that they've bought and don't need anymore. And one of them is kinkytoysrus.com. And in that article, there's a link to another page with some more names that they bought up and are now looking to sell. Some examples: IHateToysRUs.com, ToysRUsSucks.com, KinkyToysRUs.com, and AdultToysRUs.com.
So these are just websites they brought up, preventively trying to...
Yeah. Stop other people doing it and building hate sites or something, yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah, it's a little known fact. In the 90s, there was a website called RadioShackSucks.com, and it was run off of a cell phone activation computer that was in a Radio Shack. They weren't very savvy. So I've got one here from Mr. Random Dave. Tiny pinball emulator is hugely impressive. Yeah, and it is. This actually looks pretty darn good. He's got the Latte Panda, which is a Windows 10 single board computer, and it's got an Arduino Leonardo on it. So it pretty much gave him the multiple display. So he's got an upper monitor or lower monitor, and I gotta say, it looks good.
You need good eyes.
It's the kind of thing where I don't have time to build all this crap. I got other crap I'm building. So if people would I wish people would do more kits, of these things. Like, okay, I built this. These are all the parts. You know what? Let me just do a big order, put them together. I think that would be kind of cool. Because if I could just buy one of these and stick it up on the console here in the studio, I would. It's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it is. You need good eyes to play it, but anyway. One here from Dave Lanke, and it is a new venue and dates secured for Play Manchester 2019. We've not even had 2018 yet, and we're not going to in Manchester. It's relocated to Blackpool for a year, but they're moving from Event City near the Traff to Manchester Central, which is the old GMEX Centre, which is a huge space. I'm trying to think if it's bigger than Event City. Maybe not as long, but it's nonetheless, it's fucking huge. It's the old Manchester Central Station, and then they converted it into the GMEX Centre, and I've been to concerts there. They have lots of expos and things there, different shows at various times, so it is a good venue. It's central Manchester pretty much, as the name might give you a clue. And the dates are the 4th and 5th of May 2019, which is normally when Blackpool used to be around that May Day weekend. So they're shifting and changing the expo dates and venues around quite a bit. Kind of hard to keep up at the moment, but 4th and 5th of May 2019 at Manchester Central.
So I got one here, and this one's, I didn't want to bring this one up at the beginning because I don't know if it really deserved its own discussion as a sort of roundtable thing. But the Coleco went ahead with their Kickstarter for the Coleco Evolved Mini Arcades. And so they came out with two. They came out with Rainbow Bright and Robotech Macross Saga. They're basically, I think, $45 a piece, and or you can get two for 85, one of each, the Rainbow Bright and the Robotech. I'm gonna guess that these are probably made by I can't remember the name of the company. They made a whole bunch of those other, more recent minis, and they did an okay job. So looks like they contract with one of them, which is, during one of the phone conversations I had with Chris Cardillo, I put together a list for him of manufacturers that could build their product, and hopefully they reached out to one of them. They are backed. It is on Kickstarter. So they've raised $67,000 or $30,000. I would guess that would be a reasonable number because these aren't that difficult. They just call up again, I wish I could remember which company it is. Both of mine are upstairs. Otherwise, I'd just snatch off the shelf and look. But, if they just called them up and said, look, we need an art package. We need, the game, on... they've already got the board, the cabinet's already made. So just basically they're making stickers and loading new software on an existing board. And they said, yeah, we can do those. We'll sell them to you for $25 a piece. And Coleco goes, all right, yeah, we'll turn some for $45. Doesn't seem too bad. And so, yeah, I think this product will ship. I mean, it's the money they've asked for. Now they got $67,000. So the money that they asked for is enough to get these things produced. So we'll see. But I like that Robotech one. I really do. I might have to jump on one of those. Good looking little game.
Yep, I need to redo the artwork on my original Pac-Man one. It's all faded and some of it's come off. So I was looking for high-res scans of that. So if anyone's got a high-res scan of the artwork for the little original Coleco Pac-Man, let me know. I'll print some off.
You know what? Somebody out there on eBay was selling reproduction stickers for a while.
Were they? Oh,
yeah.
I shall have a look for that.
Yeah, hit eBay and give it a search.
So what's this from Chris Lethco? Europe getting SNES R-Type games released again. The new release includes both SNES-style games on one cartridge, and also comes in either a blue or a black shell. Style is a side-scrolling shooter series known for its brutal difficulty as well as stunning graphics for its time. So, why are they doing this? Looks like to raise money because you can pick your colour and you can pre-order your numbered limited edition now. So, they're going after the collectards, I think. But if you don't already own the R-Type games on SNES, now's your chance. Does it say how much they are? Let's have a look. €64.99 in euros. Wow, that's more than I thought. But it does come in a lovely looking box. You do get, it's like kind of a big box style game that you would put on your shelf, having ordered your limited edition number. Not for me, but kind of cool, I guess. One here from Spinal. Here's a link. Too hungover to type stuff.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. And it is Lighthammer. So what is Lighthammer? Let's have a look. To prevent confusion, a Lighthammer is just like the Light Pen and Light Gun, a CRT-based input device for your computer. Retro computer, that is. Besides, nowadays, in the age of touchscreen, who needs a Light Pen? And in the age of LCDs, well, not many people own a CRT anymore. So what does this do for your life? The Lighthammer has the sensitivity of a light pen, so it only works reliably at close range. So is it for CRTs? I'm guessing it is. Yeah, there looks to be a curve on those screens. So what do you do with it? C64 Lighthammer. There's a video there, but I'm not going to watch that. I'd rather mumble around the page trying to figure it out. Let's have a look.
You want me to pick up a story while you're mumbling, or?
No, I think I'm just about done. It's a light pen that you can use with your Commodore 64, from what I can work out. So thank you, Spinal. I wonder how hungover he was. Must have been a lot.
Well, if he couldn't even type stuff, that's pretty good. Well, you know what? Even in his hampered state, he thought of his boys. So thank you, Spinal. Got one here from Mike James, and it is the Space Invaders sound chip explained. And it's inside the 76477 Space Invaders digital logic. So basically, it's a 76477 complex sound generation chip. It was utilized in a lot of things. A lot of things. They used to sell it, in fact. It's just a general purpose sound chip. It wasn't exclusively designed for any one game. But it did some neat tricks where it had, basically registers that would pump patterns into in order to generate sound patterns. It's a very kind of like an A to D converter, if you will, or I'm sorry, digital D to A, digital analog converter. So it gave you a couple different channels of noise you could make. And the guy goes into great detail about the timing and how it actually works. Good technical read. I like it. And he even used the photographs of the die and blew them up in order to see, what the IC was doing. And that used to be a lot easier because you used to be able to look at it and go, okay, I see what that is. And nowadays, you can look at it and they block sense and go, okay, that's this, that's that. But you're not getting down to the minutia. So this is just a real neat exploration he did here.
Yeah, I did have a read through that. Put your propeller hat on if you go ahead and read it. But it's good stuff. A article here.
You want to keep your brain cool while you're thinking.
Yeah. One from Sean Stevenson. A retro expo of sorts in Derby. An arcade from the 80s is coming to Derby. Here's why and when. Gamers of all ages will be taken on a trip back in time when a special retro arcade gaming experience comes to Derby later this year. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong and Frogger are just some of the games that will be at Derby Museum and Art Gallery for 3 events in November. Enthusiasts are being encouraged to sign up as soon as they can to avoid disappointment. And a spokesman said, if vintage consoles and computers are more your thing, don't worry. We've got that covered too with the likes of the incomparable SNES and PS1. So some arcade machines and some consoles. Let's have a look. The first event is on Saturday, November 17th, 11 a.m. till 5. The second is on the same day between 6 and 11 and will include a live DJ playing 80s classics. And a third session will be on the Sunday, November 18th, between 11 a.m. and 5. So head down to Derby if you fancy a bit of that.
Got another one here from Spinal, and he seems to have perked up because he's typing actual words this time. And he says, hi all, apparently Nintendo have applied for a bunch of N64 trademarks for some reason. Could this be evidence of an N64 Mini in the near future? Well, yeah, could be. Let's see what it says here. Well, it's definitely written in Japanese, which I don't read. So, sure, sounds good. It's actually in Japanese. So,
it is.
Yeah, if they make an N64 Mini, this is not one I would march down and buy one or put on order. I just don't really. I didn't like the N64 that much, and I don't see myself buying the Mini.
No, there were some great games on the console. It's difficult to emulate properly, so I do have one and a few games. But yeah, I had a PlayStation when that was out. They were kind of went up against each other. So, one here from me, and it is the RGR store, retrogamingroundup.com/store, and you can go on there and order shit from us. So you can go and grab the free download of CG Adventures, and you could have bought the PAL version of CG Adventures, but I sold the very last one at Revival, so we are out of PAL copies, apart from the demo one and my one. So, unfortunately, we've sold out of those. There is a link there if you're interested in one. The PAL version, just click on that. It'll send us an email. And if we get enough people register interest, then possibly we could do a rerun, but we don't have one planned. NTSC, you can buy that version there. There's a link for the board game when that comes, and there's the New York Toy Fair. You can grab that there. Free downloads. And then all of random stuff, the various versions of Game & Watch, James and Watch games. You've got ARM, Toothcracker, bundles with both games or a mug, or both games and a mug. And then you can scroll down and purchase one of the pictures I showed on camera earlier of the hosts, minus Sparkle Puss, much to his anger. So you can order one of those from Simon's Dinosaur Pie site, and there's a link to Simon's site there. You can purchase some of his pixel art, either movie icons, pop stars, whatever it may be, or send him a picture of yourself, and he'll pixelize you. And there's a link to our Zazzle store as well. So check out retrogamingroundup.com/store.
Got one here from Dana Eiler. And he says, vacuum forming on your kitchen table. This could be pretty cool to make some one-off products. Yes, it could. So it's a little thing called the Form Box. And this is neat. It is a tabletop vacuum forming deal. Looks like it's got a heating element that heats up the plastic that's stretched over on a frame, and then that slides down, and there's a vacuum table that pulls the air. So you would just need to carve your form and drill the holes, and then pull the vacuum, release the vacuum, and trim it. So, yeah, the one thing they kind of gloss over is actually making that form. It's not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, you have to carve it. You have to, drill all the holes, and your in vacuum form product will only be as good as the form that you make, and they just kind of gloss over that bit. But if you've got the talent for making the forms that you draw the heated plastic over, yeah, go for it. This would definitely be useful for making a lot of little pieces for modeling and such. So. Kind of neat. If you got a few minutes, go watch the video if you're into the maker thing. It's pretty darn cool.
Pretty cool. Eric Ambrose was in chat earlier. I'm not sure if he's still there, and he sent us the VCS launch, which we covered earlier. And I think, are we out of news?
We're darn close to it. I'm getting back from my news venture. I ended up, like you cascade, you open up one and another. I ended up with like 20 tabs open. So
I do believe we are done. Yeah, we've done all our news in for this month.
And another submission of the VCS pre-order. Eric Ambrose just threw that in there too. So thank you, all of you who submitted things, even if it's multiples, because we still, if you think someone else submitted it and you don't send it, then we won't get it. So we appreciate that very much.
We certainly do, and we appreciate you hanging out in chat. There has been some shenanigans behind the scenes trying to get this organised. So I only announced maybe yesterday or the day before the date, but as ever, we will endeavour to announce it as early as we can. We've had quite a few in the last few months, not so many today. I think we picked up a few once we got going, but we'll try and announce earlier next month. But thank you for hanging out in chat, and thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next month. Tatty bye, everybody.
Later. Goodbye, everybody. All right, let me